Day 102, the AIDS epidemic. I'm gonna try really hard to keep it together during this video because this is one of two times in San Francisco history that I don't know, just make me very emotional, but just very gut-wrenching, heartbreaking times in the city's history, times that should have never happened, and things that I didn't really get a sense of the full scope of until I got into tourism, which is a huge shame because I'm born and raised in this city. I actually have 6 generations here. So if I don't really understand the full scope of this, and especially as a proud gay man, I can't expect other people to have any kind of sense of it either. And anyway, not to say that there aren't people out there that know to do your research. I guess what I'm really trying to say is that I feel an obligation to include this in my series, despite how difficult this is to talk about. So my understanding is that the AIDS epidemic began in 1981. And I've literally had people hop into my tour in the Castro to offer up that information. And normally I really don't allow that type of behavior, but this is one of those instances where I kind of do invite outside perspectives, because this is a time that I did not live through. This is a time that many of our elders did not survive. As a matter of fact, one of my main sources who I consulted to write my Castro District historic tour, which at this point is my most popular tour in my company, my business, he passed away during the pandemic of his HIV symptoms. So my understanding is that HIV, AIDS, began in the streets of San Francisco, and it was predominantly seen amongst homosexual men and men who injected drugs. So why on earth did it take the deaths of 15,000 men of a very similar demographic, right, before the Reagan administration put any kind of label or any kind of attention to this? My father told me that when he was like in San Francisco during the AIDS epidemic, he would go to Davies Hospital, which is just over the hill from the Castro, to visit Darrow and Dubose. And I guess the 4th floor was essentially a mortuary where these people would literally go to die. And I'm talking, again, I'm really trying hard to keep a composure, but like, people knew the nurses that they could bribe for morphine. Mothers would leave their children to die because they felt like this was God's plan. And like these people would be like in the last stages of their life, like at death's door, dying and begging for their mother to hold them. And I've read stories of like some of these people were in such like disturbing hallucinations that sometimes a nurse would go in there and pretend to be the mom while these people sat there and died. So I have by no means attempted to cover all of the impact. Over 40 million people have died globally of HIV/AIDS. Again, this is such a huge topic that I'm really only meaning to introduce it in this video. It's not even something that I feel qualified to speak on past a certain point, because I feel myself to be quite privileged that this was not me. And all I want to do is to spread this information, to teach this history, so that we can have some kind of gratitude and some kind of appreciation and some kind of respect for the people that came before us and what our community had to go through, once upon a time. So the last thing that I want to say, last but certainly not least, I would not be able to make this video without sharing one of the most beautiful, facts that I share on my tour. And on my route, we passed by the GLBT Historic Museum, and most people, they don't know that acronym GLBT is actually, and I think I have made a video about it, but that's actually from the old-fashioned arrangement of letters for the LGBTQ community, for the queer community. And the L was actually moved to the front specifically to honor the lesbian nurses who stepped up and are responsible for anybody that survived. And I'll say one more thing. Like, not that long ago, I actually went to an event with a lot of queer elders, and again, many of our elders were wiped out during this event that I'm talking about. And I'll never forget that, like, a couple of the people talked about the AIDS epidemic, and they said that literally everybody was dying. Like, something like they were going to funerals like every other day, it felt like. And it's just a horrible, horrible part of history that I hate that it ever happened. But it's something that has to be talked about. So anyway, that's a little bit about AIDS epidemic, which, by the way, it's still going on. People are still dying of AIDS, and actually it's overwhelmingly prevalent, like concentrated in the global south. I think like sub-Saharan Africa is who's really taking the brunt of this. And it's not gay people anymore, people, it's not homosexuals, it's mostly straight people. So anyway.